Extreme close up. Whoa. Hi, guys. I didn't know how to start this. I really need to get an intro here soon. All right. I've been wanting to make this video for months, months and months and months. And I finally finished the script, which took me a long time. Also because I'm writing other things. And I'm really excited. I'm really excited to do this. I always forget to tell people certain things, so I'm going to do it. If you're wondering why I'm not editing and why this is all going to be one shot, I don't know. It's like an experiment. I thought maybe the mixture of me also reading off a script and like improving gives me like my best me, right? So that's why I do it this way. And yeah, I hope this video isn't uber long. Its script is only 5 pages. Not my longest script. So, all right. And also, like and subscribe. I'm a very new channel. Please comment what your favorite Wayne's World quote is. And yeah, like what you think of the movie too. Because most of this is just my opinion. I mean, I have a lot of just facts in here, but once I get to my opinion, it's just my opinion. And, you know, you can have your own opinion. So this is my Wayne's World analysis. My Let's Talk About Wayne's World. Oh, I'm actually nervous because I've been wanting to do this video for so long. So let's just get onto it. So get into it, not onto it. Well, we can get on it. Get on it if you want. So first off, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I had this entire movie memorized when I was a child before I even knew what like words meant. That's not a joke. I was like 3 when this movie came out, and I'm pretty sure I watched it when it came out. And I don't remember the first time watching it. I just remember it always being part of my life. So it's very important to me. So I did use the word favorite when I say this is one of my favorite movies, because I do not think it's the best movie. I wouldn't give this movie a 10 out of 10. In order, the older I got, the more I realized and learned about film and how my taste changed. And, you know, I hope to give history on this film. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but I noticed how my taste changed, and I don't want to just look at everything through nostalgia glasses and say, oh, it was great. I actually still want to be critical. But let's go through, I broke this down into parts. Let's go through the history of the production, the reception, and looking back on it with today's eyes, which will be my review of it. All right, that only took 3 minutes to say nothing. Let's do this. First part, the history. So this movie is the brainchild of Mike Myers. Mike was born in Ontario, Canada in 1963, the son of English immigrants, Eric and Alice. He had older brothers, Paul and Peter, and Paul was a musician, getting Mike into history at a super young age, which I actually do think is really important for this movie. I got a picture of a young Mike Myers, a young Mike Myers. There we go. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong Mike Myers. Oh wait, that's the Halloween one. There we go. I love that picture. It doesn't look like he's aged at all. Okay, so in an interview with Mark Maron on Mark Maron's podcast, WTF, he described himself as a punk rocker at that age, and talked about having a cool older brother is like having a cheat card into knowing what is cool, like cool music, because your older brother knows, so you get to find out earlier, right? I love that because, yeah, like a guide into good music. Something I can relate to. I have an older brother who's 4 years older than me, and me and him have shared our musical tastes our entire lives, and it's still a bond we have. So it's something I feel like I can relate to, that of knowing what it's like to like have an older brother. Like, dude, don't listen to you know that. Check this out. You're gonna love it. Yeah, so he started acting at a young age, Mike Myers, the age of 10, and in commercials for the TV show, and in the TV show King of Kensington at age 12. And all this led to the character Wayne and how he started doing characters at parties. Like at age 11, he would do characters at parties to like make people laugh, like party tricks. And this was actually one of his characters. And he would do it on a stage in high school, and he'd start performing before punk bands. And he already had the character in his teenage years of Wayne Campbell. He was supposed to be the parody of the rocker that like made fun of like the punk kids. I mean, a lot of that changed, but that's like kind of how he started out. Now, I do not want this to be a history of Mike Myers, but the history of Wayne Campbell, instead. So if you want, so I won't talk significantly about Mike's life and now, like I did up to now, but now I'm just going to talk about Wayne. But if that's something you're interested, I suggest to seek out any video about, like, watch his WTF with Mark Maron or other videos, because Mike's had a really cool life. And especially those early years, like right when he's starting out on SNL, he's got a lot of really cool stories. All right. Wayne saw his first TV appearance in 1987 with a segment on the CBC, Canadian Broadcast Channel, I believe, network. It's okay to rock and roll. The segment was called Wayne's Power Minute, and I totally have a picture. That's Wayne on Wayne's Power Minute. Or it's Only Rock and Roll is the name of the show. Sorry. The segment's called Wayne's Power Minute. Wayne would act like the stereotypical rocker, and he'd say stuff like, all right, and party hardy. And he would break down rocker lingo. Honestly, you can find some of the stuff on YouTube. It really didn't age well, but it's still funny. And if you're a big fan of Wayne's World, maybe you can check it out. But like if you're a mega fan, but yeah, a lot of it is, it is very much the DNA for Wayne, right? So you do see that he already had a lot of the character completely figured out. Here's another picture. That one's blurry. All right. Can we just look at this one again? That wig is awful. All right. When Mike got into SNL in 1987, he waited a bit to pitch the Wayne Campbell character, and he really put a lot of thought into it. So to make the sketch more sellable, instead of like, hey, I just got here, it's just a sketch about me. He wanted to make it a little more sellable. So he approached the legend, Dana Carvey, to be in it as Wayne's best friend, creating the character of Garth Elgar. So Mike claims this was because Dana was well loved, and involving him helped any sketch get on the air. Like if Dana's on it, then you're most likely going to get it aired. Here's a good Dana. I love Dana Carvey. Yeah, so this is a very humble origins of Garth, and now just for a few years, Wayne was already thought up by him, and now Garth just like kind of comes up and like on a whim, and it, Dana's so good that he got this character figured out so quick because he's just amazing at what he did, and so he molded the character off of his brother, and so his character speech patterns and mannerisms off his brother Brad, and the main note that Mike gave Dana was that Garth worships Wayne. Fantastic. That's it. Hey man, you just gotta really love what I'm doing. It's very humble origins, like I said, and the sketch made it on the air February 18th, 1989. I was only alive for a couple months at this point, and it was a hit almost immediately. The premise was Wayne and Garth had a public access show. In here, I got some early Wayne's World stuff. So they had a public access show, and it was in Wayne's parents' basement. So the public access logo, which I played earlier, comes up, and that logo opening became like iconic almost immediately. Wayne always was holding his guitar Garth was holding his drumsticks. Let's see, yeah, there you go. And it introduced themselves by saying, "Party on, Wayne, party on, Garth," and these would become catchphrases, along with a lot of, like, even in these first couple sketches, they're already saying "excellent," and there are other catchphrases, and even extreme close-ups and stuff like that. So I'm gonna look at one specific episode because I feel like it has so much DNA for the movie. But in the December 2nd episode of that same year, the episode, they review movies by saying, like, very simply reviewing movies by just saying, like, "I liked it. It sucked." You know, like, "Oh, what do you guys think about this one?" It sucked. You know, it's a good gag. And then, but what they do in this sketch we see later on is establishing this joke of the person is not smart but says something very insightful. So while they are reviewing these movies and they're just saying, like, one word at a time, the movie Crimes and Misdemeanors comes up, and then Wayne says, "I thought it wasn't so much a movie as it was an essay of man and society, although the topic of free will versus determination is fascinating. I would hardly call it entertainment. Garth?" And then Garth would go, "Sucked." So that's a joke that they use in, like, later on. So even when they had Aerosmith, I think I got a picture of that. When they had Aerosmith on the TV show, they do that joke where they're all kind of, they ask Aerosmith questions, and then it starts off with them giving, like, stereotypical, like, rocker answers, and then they start saying things really intelligent. So yeah, this is a joke they use later on in other sketches and in the movies, and it's one of my favorite bits. I love that bit. So it's a clever joke, using all right. Also using like not jokes and other things. You see the, like, blueprint of them so early on. Like, it feel like they already had the characters completely figured out. So this show was like a love letter to Gen X's rocker crowd, and it gave them representation, and it made fun of them at the same time. And it was like this perfect recipe. So there is a lot of good stuff in the SNL sketches. The Aerosmith sketch, like I just said, is considered one of the best SNL sketches of all time. I don't need the you don't need to see most of these, but if you do love the movie and you just want more Wayne's World, you can find a lot of them on YouTube or just other means. They are, a lot of them are pretty good winners. A lot of really good time. Nothing super crazy, but one thing I find impressive is how solid they had these characters from the start and had to barely change them for the movie. All right, let's get into the production. So, oh no. You know, I thought I was doing pretty good, and I wasn't. I thought I was doing pretty good, and remember to get all the pictures in. I think that I just lose pictures. Maybe somebody comes in here and steals them from me sometimes. I don't know. But, yeah. Here we go. So, let's get into production. This film was greenlit by Paramount Pictures in 1991, only 2 years after the first sketch, and following the Blues Brothers, it was only the second movie based on SNL sketch. SNL showrunner and SNL showrunner and personal hero of Mike, Lorne Michaels. I got a picture of Lorne Michaels. There he is. Lorne Michaels produced the movie and brought on director Penelope, I'm going to say Spheris. I'm just going to call her Penelope for the rest of this. As director. I'm so bad at names. Here, I got this picture of her now, and a picture of her young, and this is her hanging out with Wayne. I'm going to keep this one up. She just got done directing a documentary on heavy metal music and decided to do Wayne's World over directing a documentary about the clinically insane at the Patton State Hospital. Now that's a crossroads. She does claim that doing this movie turned her life around. She said she was 45 years old at the time and struggling to make it as a director. I looked at a lot of her stuff, really cool, fascinating documentaries, like a lot of really cool punk music and diving into indie music of like her time. She's really interesting. They hired the most attractive and evil man of the 90s, Rob Lowe, as villain Benjamin. And because of this movie and Tommy Boy, like Rob was the 90s villain of my childhood. Like he was always he's like what I thought of like the suave jerk villain. Well, I guess he wasn't suave in Tommy Boy. You know what I mean? So Rob does do a small amount of like Lorne Michaels impression in this movie. And he does say that Dana helped him with his Lorne impression. It's not as blatant as like Mike's on like Dr. Evil, like that is Dr. Evil is straight up like a Lorne Michaels impression. But he does a little bit of stuff like his odd speech patterns and like his weird sentence structure, like Lorne Michaels like talks in its very odd way. I think the guy's really cool and also really fascinating because he's just such a important for comedy throughout like our generation, the generation before, of like how much stuff he's done for SNL and things like that, like how he show ran SNL for so long. Yeah, so Dana did help Rob with his Lorne impression. Rob says that the only thing harder than keeping a straight face when Dana is out to kill you with comedy was learning the Cantonese he had to do to order the Chinese food. In fact, Tia Carrera didn't know how to speak Cantonese either. We'll get to Tia Carrera. And the only actor who knew it before the movie was Mike Myers. Because, I don't know, he's a savant, I guess. All right, let's talk about Tia Carrera, who fun fact, met at a Comic-Con like 12 years ago now. I think it was like 2010, I think was the Comic-Con I met her at. But maybe. But anyways, Emerald City Comic-Con. She was super nice. I shook her hand and talked to her for like 3 seconds. But anyways, Tia Carrera was casted as the love interest, and it was because Mike wrote the part for an Asian American actress to homage the Asian cover bands at the time. Apparently, that was a big thing. Was cover bands made up of Asian ladies, and yeah. So Tia was super grateful for that, considering if it wasn't written to be a Asian character, in her words, they probably would have just put the top blonde Hollywood beauty in at the time, and at least not even think about like Tia Carrera. But Tia also does have a musical background, so she was very fit for this part. And if you watched Wayne's World growing up and you don't think of like Tia Carrera as like one of your first crushes, like she was my first crush. And then I got this cute little picture of all of them. And so now let's talk about Alice Cooper. So Mike sought to have Alice Cooper as the musical, I guess, like he really wanted to fight for it. And the main thing he wanted was he wanted them to do the songs 18 and School's Out, like his favorite stuff. So he fought really hard to get Alice Cooper in the movie. And when he talked to him, the manager, Alice's manager, Shep Gordon, which I got a picture of him and Alice, the guy with the mustache who doesn't look like Alice Cooper, that's Shep Gordon, fought to have him do a newer song, Feed My Frankenstein. And according to Mike, Shep argued that Alice is only going to be on stage for 8 seconds, and if you put Schools Out in or 18 in the credits, people are just going to think that's the song they played. Mike agreed, which I personally think is a crazy argument. I do not agree with that at all, but he really wanted them to do the newer song so they can help promote this newer Alice Cooper song. But maybe that's just me. But the strange thing, Mike and Shep later became super close friends, and he did a documentary about Shep Gordon because Shep Gordon's a very interesting person. And this is Mike and Shep, way later on. And again, on that WTF episode with Mike, he does talk a lot about Shep Gordon because I think that this documentary came out around the same time. But he's a really cool guy, and their relationship seems really special. And yeah, that's not the only song Mike fought for. He also had to fight tooth and nail for Bohemian Rhapsody, but we'll get to that. So now let's actually get into filming. So the 34-day filming schedule was insane for them. It was very tight. Dana and Mike were Dana Carvey and Mike were doing SNL at the same time, so they had to fly back and forth doing both things. And they were rushed, but they still ad-libbed. So even though they were rushed, they still ad-libbed and did a lot of lines. So Mike ad-libbed the cream of some young guy line, and the laughter in that scene is actually all completely genuine. Like, it broke a lot of the cast. And when they first filmed it, it went like right on to the next line. But test audiences laughed so hard that they missed like the next joke already. So if you go back and watch that scene when they're all ordering Chinese food and he says that line, they add in like an extra like 5 seconds or 10 seconds of padding so they could get, so people can laugh. I think it's so funny, and that it was just improv. I had to fight to keep it in, and So the Bohemian Rhapsody scene apparently was hell to shoot. It was an entire night, and it was take after take after take of headbanging in the car. And I got a picture for that too. I love that picture of headbanging in the car. And so Mike complained heavily, saying that it was unrealistic and not funny, but Penelope fought for it, and ultimately I ultimately agree with her, because I do think that this is beyond one of the most iconic things. Me and my friends like always headbang to this song, like to that part of the song specifically, and I'm sure many of you do too. Like, if Bohemian Rhapsody came on when all of us were in the car, we had to crank it up. Like, this scene, it did so much for that song. And like later on, when the song was, it's an older song and it was already on the charts, this put it back on the charts and put it back on the map and added this cool iconic feel to it. And it's, it's a great song in its own right. But yeah, Dana actually never learned the lyrics of the song, so that's why when you see a close up, he's just like, and they called him out on it, and then he just decided to ham it up, and he never did any of the lyrics. And yeah, I just thought that was very great. So the Bohemian Rhapsody scene was one of the many times that Mike and Penelope reportedly, I wasn't there, butted heads on set. She believes that Myers encouraged the studio not to have her back for the sequel due to personality conflicts with Mike during the making of the first film. But that being said, she does claim that it was a very uplifting set, and Mike even said that he had a lot of fun, and everybody does seem to look back at it fondly. But yeah, it is pretty noted that they butted heads a lot. So the reception of the film. So the film was a success at the box office and debuted at number 1 at the box office on a $20 million budget. It ended up with a final domestic gross of $121.6 million. So that's a huge success and the highest gross of any SNL movie. And the critics liked it, with it currently sitting at a 79 on Rotten Tomatoes with a 84 audience score. Roger Ebert gave the film 3 stars. I got a picture of Roger Ebert too. There you go. Gave the film 3 stars out of 4 and said, "I walked into Wayne's World expecting a lot of dumb, vulgar comedy, and I got plenty of that, but also found what I didn't expect, a genuinely amusing, sometimes even intelligent undercurrent." Which I guess that's a compliment. Like, I thought it was going to be dumb, and it was. A little undercurrent of good, though. Thanks, Roger Ebert. I only mostly hated it, but there's a little hint, little salt, if you will, of actually good talent. What a dick. That's a favorable review. That's 3 out of 4 stars. So then Roger Ebert's other half, Gene Siskel, said he called the film very funny and most original comedy with inspired bits of whimsy. All right, I like that review a little more. You guys want to see Siskel and Ebert with a weird dog? How's that? Is that picture? You guys like that picture? that cool? But critics aside, where you can see the film's success is what it did to pop culture. Is everybody quoting it for up to now, and people always have to dress up as it. It's like dress up as Wayne and Garth this Halloween, and yeah, like so much of it. They became like the 90s, like Cheech and Chong, like the comedy duo. And so much of the catchphrases like swing or we're not worthy or shuh, right? Like so much of that came part of like the national vocabulary and still quoted, today. It forever changed how people listen to Bohemian Rhapsody. And if you lived in the 90s, but you didn't have a copy, and if you didn't have a copy, so if you were alive in the 90s and you didn't have a copy of the VHS, I would be so surprised. We had 2. We didn't have a lot. I didn't really grow up with a lot of money, but we had 2 Wayne's Worlds. I don't know how. This movie killed it with fans, and it became like a modern classic, in my opinion. It's among its many legacies is the extremely iconic Mirthmobile. So, a secondhand AMC Pacer painted with a blue with flame. This thing became beyond iconic, and that's up there with iconic TV and movie cars like the General Lee from Dukes of Hazzard or the DeLorean from Back to the Future. I remember when my brother's friend got a Pacer when they were in high school, and we all called it the Mirth, like, because we had to. And so the original Mirthmobile actually appeared on Pawn Stars in 2015 and later was restored and sold 2016 for $37.4 thousand. So that's it. That's not a lot of, for something that's so iconic, you think that they would have sold more. Like if I had that money, I would have went back and bought it. It was so successful that it got a sequel the following year, which I'm sure I'll cover one day if that's something you guys are interested in. If I get just a couple comments, it's like, hey, cover Wayne's World 2. I actually like the sequel more. I will. I don't like the sequel more, but if you said that, I love the sequel. It's definitely weaker, but still good, man. So I would love to. So like I said, I grew up with this movie. I had it memorized before I even had a grasp on the English language. You've been hearing me talk for 30 minutes now. I'm sure you don't think I have a grasp now. But I was 3 when it came out, and I probably watched it at that age. And I had the whole movie memorized it before I even had memories. And I watched it over and over and over again my entire childhood. And like I laughed when my parents laughed because I didn't know what words meant. So these are just things around my house. So this is my Wayne's World poster that my wife got me for Christmas one year. It's actually an OG poster that from 1993. And here hanging in my daughter's room is my No Stairway Denied that I have hanging up. She loves Zeppelin, and I'm just over her playing it. Anyways, the next segment, I'll be looking back, very critical at this movie, and I feel like the nostalgia shouldn't like excuse certain things. But that being said, I do love this movie. Just because I'm gonna have some criticisms doesn't mean I don't love this movie at the rate that I do. I do love this movie, but like I said, there are things that, and we'll get into it. But this movie is a huge part of my life, and it made up like it's responsible for a large hunk of my personality and my sense of humor. So even if I start ragging on it, which I do have positives in here, but even if I do start ragging on it, please let yourself know I love this movie. Looking back, all right, like I said, I watched this movie many times, more than I can count, and I grew up watching and loving it. But the older I got, certain things did pop out that I didn't like. But let's first talk about the things in the movie that I did. I want to look back at a few scenes and talk about what I love about them. So, the Garth making the robot scene. Garth is making a robot, and Benjamin steps in to talk to him about changes in the show. And Garth tells him, "We fear change." And he starts beating a robot hammer, or a robot hand with a hammer. Boom. And so this scene comes out of nowhere. It's not even established where it takes place. This scene is great because it shows you how loyal Garth is, but it also leaves you with so many questions. Like, what's the robot for? What's with the helmet? Where's Wayne? Where are they? I think it's brilliant. I do. I think this scene's brilliant. All the unanswered questions makes the scene feel like David Lynchian, and that's brilliant. Dana Carvey said in a behind-the-scenes video thing that the robot was being built to kill Benjamin, and the hand started moving because it saw Benjamin. What? Like, that just brings up more questions. So Benjamin hasn't even screwed these guys over yet. Like, he's just talking about, like, hey, I'm going to make changes. Like, he's about to screw them over. And then he's already building a robot that's going to strangle him? It's so out there. Like, why a robot? Why try to kill him at all? Like, murder has to be easier than making a robot, right? Like, overall, this scene is just amazing. I love it. So we can't talk about the best scene without talking about the car ride, but I do feel like I already kind of covered a lot of that. So let's just say it's iconic, and let's just move on. Now, the genius scene is the sponsor scene. So another scene I love. So they're all sitting around talking about like pretty much nonsense. And Benjamin approaches them talking about bringing on a sponsor, which Noah Vanderhoff, and having him do a weekly interview on the show. And he starts to say, like, contract or no, I will not bow down to any sponsor. And as he's talking about how he just doesn't want to just bow down to the sponsor and have the sponsor, like, run the show, he starts to, like, do product placement during it. So they, like, break the fourth wall, look right at the scene, and do all these product placements. This gag is extremely funny. I love it. It pokes fun at themselves so much. The conflict of the movie is that Wayne is not wanting to sell out, but in order to get actually the Wayne's World movie made, they need money. So they found a way to add in all these product placements while the character is making fun of it. So it's like a have your cake and eat it too moment. And yeah, they have Wayne arguing with arguing against sponsors. I also like the Garth one. People only do things because they get paid. And that's just really sad. I can do this whole scene. I got it all. I love this scene. So yeah, so they're arguing against sponsors of the fictional show as he promotes for the actual movie. I think it's super cheeky and extremely smart, and I love it. So the first time they enter Stanley Keenest Donuts is also gold. Now, this is the last scene I'll just talk about. So it's Ed O'Neill's cameo as the manager Glenn is just too good. He confesses to murder, and why is it when a man kills another man in battle they call it heroic? You kill a man in the heat of passion. It's called murder. What do you think you're doing? Only me and Garth get to talk to the camera. I just love it. And then Garth goes, I don't normally have too much to say, quite flaky. What's that? It's just full of little comedy moments. It's not quite like as smart as the other scenes that I talked about, but I couldn't talk about this movie without bringing up Ed O'Neill's cameo. Love it. So I did want to talk about every smart or funny scene, but I would be here forever, and I actually want this to be a reasonably spaced video, timed video. So tell me in the comments what your favorite scene is. I already told you guys to do that, but no, for real, let's talk about like what your favorite scene is. Now, So let's talk about the biggest issue I actually have with this movie. So my biggest issue with this movie, and I'm gonna be frank, and then we'll figure it out. That's cool. Can I still be Garth? Wayne is a jealous piece of crap, and that like it's my biggest issue, and it's a large part of the conflict of this movie, and even the second one is created by Wayne's own insecurities. Garth starts this off. I'll fully explain what I'm talking about. So Garth starts this off, this narrative, when they are eating at Benjamin's place, and he kind of like pulls the camera aside, and he said, if I had a girl like Cassandra, I wouldn't bring her here. I mean, look at this place. This is a fully functional babe lair. Chicks are helpless against its powers. It's funny because it shows like maybe how naive and ignorant Garth is, but him and Wayne believe it. Like I'll get to it later, but they literally believe that chicks are helpless against powers, and I hate that narrative. So chicks are not helpless against Beyblayers. Okay, it implies that any girl is helpless against a rich and handsome guy. Like girls are just, they might love this guy genuine, but I'm helpless to the rich man. Like it's. Chicks are not helpless against anything, and girls are not just money chasing people or something. Like I don't like this narrative, and again, I might just be taking it serious because it does come off as a joke when Garth says it. But later, as we'll get to, Wayne does act on this, like he does believe this, and as if love and loyalty aren't real. So I'm married, and when I first met my wife, I had nothing. I was super broke. I had no car. I lived in a tiny studio basement apartment. I had nothing. And she had this this ex with like this bank job and rich parents and a trust fund. He was a trust fund baby. And if it was about money, she wouldn't have dated me, or she wouldn't have continued to date me. I was broke, and she could have gone back to him 100 times, but she didn't, because she didn't love him. She loved me. So if Cassandra loves Wayne, she will love Wayne. She didn't fall in love with him hoping he's going to get money one day. Maybe he did. She did. But, I just don't like that narrative. And like I said, it's going to come forward. So the point I'm trying to make is, it's like a really bad view on women. And like I said, it's just a dumb line from Garth. But if Wayne didn't do what Garth said later on in the film, I would just write it off as Garth not knowing anything about women. But then Wayne, the central conflict of the movie starts when Benjamin boots Wayne for publicly humiliating Noah Vanderhoff. The next scene is them sitting on the hood of the Mirthmobile, and Garth is pissed that Wayne ditched him, which is very, very, okay. That's very reasonable that Garth is mad about that. And Wayne should have just apologized, but instead he doubles down and says, I have to run everything by you now? That's unreasonable? Of course he does. Why would he have to run? I'm leaving the show. I should probably tell the co-host of the show and my best friend. He says it like that's so unreasonable. I have to tell you when I personally make giant decisions about your life. He does. Garth is a human, and his friend, and if they are partners in the show, of course he has to run that by Garth. Garth then drops that Benjamin is going to take Cassandra. And he's like, he's so stoked. He has it for Cassandra. But he never says Cassandra has it for Benjamin. Just that Benjamin has it for her. And then Wayne says, Cassandra's not interested, as if. And he's like, she's not interested because he has a fancy car, because he doesn't have any visible scars. And I'm not doing the scene completely right, but lists off these reasons. And then Wayne gets mad and calls him his gimp, calls him his sidekick. And then it sets Wayne off. And again, Wayne's she's not interested, and it should have ended there. But it's just, if Benjamin is interested in Cassandra, she is powerless to his whims. It's this weird narrative, and I hate it. I really do. So this scene after he leaves, and it heads straight over to Cassandra's, and he then accuses her of cheating, and like for zero reason. Like she has never even flirted with Benjamin, and even shot him down when he originally asked her for her number, and he has zero reason. And then afterwards, he leaves, and he speaks to the camera like, "What's going on? I lost my show. I lost my best friend. I lost my girl. I'm being shit on. That's right, shit on." Dude, no, you're not. You are. You did all those things. You broke your contract, which I'm not saying that's an evil thing, but you did lose your show. And then you didn't apologize when Garth was like, "Hey man, I'm very mad. You lost your best friend." Okay? Like, and then like if he would have just apologized, like it would have been done. And then when he just goes over and pretty much forces Cassandra to throw him out. Like, you lost your show, you lost your best friend, you lost your girl. You're crapping on yourself, buddy. That's very different. So I want to point out another issue. So he thinks, so Wayne is a complete jerk. Wait, what am I doing? Yeah, I think that he's a complete jerk and a bad dude. I don't think this movie is... I feel like I'm missing something. Yeah, whatever. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, all right. Got lots of my script. The point I'm trying to make is that my biggest issue with this movie is Wayne. And I think he's a complete jerk and a bad dude. I don't think this movie itself is sexist. I think that just Wayne is, in that he is even punished for his actions. But another problem is he doesn't learn anything because he pulls the same crap in the second movie. He's still like, the second movie's big major conflict is her being jealous of her hanging out with Christopher Walken. And yeah, so he just walks up to Garth and finally apologizes, but he doesn't state what he did. He just goes, "Sorry for what I did. Buds?" I would say, "What'd you do?" Like, I want to hear it. I want to know why you messed up. You know, like if you have an argument with a friend and they hurt you in some way, if they're just like, "Hey, I like you as a friend. Let's be friends again." I'd say, "All right, what'd you do wrong? We don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but just I want you to know why I'm mad." You know, and it's a crap apology. "Sorry for what I did, Buds." It's funny. It's a good joke. And then to get Cassandra back again, he doesn't apologize. He just drives up to her and just tells her that he's getting his show back on the air and he wants to be on it, or wants her to be on it. And then he states all of his problems. Like, "I know I don't have his looks, and I know I don't have his money." He doesn't ever say, "Yeah, I kind of just went up and accused you of cheating for no reason, and I'm being a jealous D-bag. Sorry." Like, yeah. So I have a lot of issues with Wayne himself. And I'll stop here. It just bugs me when I look back at this movie as an adult in a healthy relationship. Wayne just stood out to me as like a jealous jerk, and I haven't been able to shake it. I still love this movie. I do. And I don't like making negative videos. Something I told myself when I was going to start making, start my own channel, was I'm not ever going to make, top 10 worst this, why Cats is bad. Like, I don't, those kind of videos are perfect for other people. They are. And I'll support people doing those types of videos. But I don't. I want to celebrate the things I love. So that was a lot of negativity, but that's why I had to keep stating how much Wayne's World is important to me, and it doesn't ruin it. I have to be fair and honest. I can't look away from something if it bugs me just because I have nostalgia glasses. It might be a small issue, and ultimately it doesn't take away from all the good that this movie is, and good without a doubt. The good definitely outweighs the bad. Let's end it here. Amazing movie, one of my favorites of all times. I laughed, I cried, I hurled. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Please like, subscribe, let me know, engage with the comments, tell me what your favorite Wayne's World quote is. Tell me what you thought about my take on it, and all that stuff. this video means a lot to me. I've started writing the script a long time ago, and it's a concept I had for a long time, and I'm so happy to finally get it done. So you can find me on Instagram at Mark Taco Face. I mostly just do a lot of updates about the show. So if you want to know the next, or about this channel, if you want to know the next shows I got going on, check it out. If you're interested in Star Wars, me and my amazing co-host Marie Wilson do a Star Wars show called Let's Talk About Star Wars. And yeah, we did it. We did it under an hour. Holy shamola. All right, guys. Have a good one.